You're right, guys. Welcome to the latest episode of Muscle Owl Talks. We have Michaela here and Mark.
Hi.
Hi.
So we thought we'd do a real quick episode on drugs and treatments for muscular dystrophy in particular here, because obviously with both of you guys having SMA and Duchenne muscular dystrophy, these are, two of the conditions that have a lot of treatments coming out at the moment or coming to market. Coming out makes it sound like coming soon, but we've seen exon dys 51 and now lots of other skips, in the pipeline, alongside Translarna. And in the SMA scheme, we've got, AVXS and nusinersen, now Spinraza, and so many other things with the whole CRISPR treatments that could influence both too. So one of the key things here, which both of you guys would be really good to speak on, is access to these treatments for older adults with the condition, because as we know, or as you may not know, these treatments are tested on, in clinical trials, young children with the condition, many of whom can still walk or still have a lot of movement. And then when they come to market, they're only available for these children. So, I don't know. Michaela, do you want to bring it in?
Yeah, I suppose to start off, we need to recognize that there's a lot of treatments coming up for a lot of muscle wasting conditions. So it's hard to keep track of them all. Just kind of this week, Mescalaris, I think I'm pronouncing that right, is kind of moving forward in trials for phase 2 and for limb-girdle, so that it's promising 6.2% increase on average of muscle function for those individuals. So that's encouraging. We've got more and more like that coming along. For SMA, obviously, I'm invested in that area because I have SMA. We have the likes of AVXS 101 from Ep40, which is a one-off delivery of a new working SMN gene into the spinal cord through the blood-brain barrier. So it's a really groundbreaking piece of research. It's still in phase 1, and the early signs look really, really good. And that's a drug that I think, if that comes to trial and I'm within the age bracket, I'll go for it. We've had Spinraza, which I think most people know of, or nusinersen, and it was trialed pretty much only in younger kids, and under extremely strict criteria. It's now licensed under the FDA, and things are kind of moving along in the European Medicines Agency for people in the UK, but we're still in that kind of divide where we need to look at how we get that approved for older people. The FDA did approve that for everybody with SMA, regardless of what type or what age you are. But it's really important that we remember there are older people who need access at trial to really understand how that really helps people. And then you have other ones like Alexine. Alexine is more of a neural protector, and it seems to be in the very early stages of trial, so I don't know an awful lot about it, but it's almost exclusively being marketed on older SMA patients, and by older I mean up to 25. So it's still even those like people like me, because I'm a year too old for it. So there's a lot of this going on, but we really can't fully understand how any of it helps or might help an older person without that having been done in trial. I understand that sometimes it should affect trial data, but we must be able to find a way to separate those two sets of data and say it works in these people but not in others, or it works in both, or it doesn't work in either. And I think that's what we need to look at. We need to find a way around that so people can understand what choices they're making, and also give them a chance at a trial and not really like based on their age, I suppose. But that's from my perspective as someone with SMA looking at 3 kind of different drugs and what we can do with them.
Yeah, Mark, do you want to talk? I mean, you're nearly 47 years old with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Do you want to, how do you feel about potential treatments coming through and being able to access them or not being able to access them?
I find a lot of new things coming up quite exciting, but like a lot of adults, I think I had disregarded thinking about things like that for quite a long time. And it's only in the last couple of years that, because of developments that we've seen happening, I'm going to realise that these are relevant for adults. But there very much is a disjoint between the sort of pharmaceuticals view on the trials, and they haven't really thought about where adults fit into the whole picture. I think they see the whole priority of keeping kids walking and they forget about all the other sort of issues that we face as adults, and there's areas of function that we would like to keep, and I think they need to sort of start really thinking about what these treatments mean for adults and where adults can fit in the whole thing, because I don't know, as adults we feel left behind, I think. And I know a lot of people just give up on the whole thought of, I think it's quite complex for adults to get into trials. How are they equipped to actually deal with adults? I don't really think the whole thing's there at all.
Yeah, no, I see slight difference between how maybe Michaela and the SMA community and adults in the DMD community, because there is this kind of constant progression of a condition with DMD. There is this sort of higher urgency with Duchenne, almost this need for people to sort of say, demand this. Whereas as Michaela, you were saying, I would opt to have this, but not to have this. You're saying you wouldn't have Spinraza because of the infusions in the spine.
Yeah,
I don't see that.
It's so difficult to get into the human body. And again, I suppose you're right in a sense with the urgency, because most of the SMA trials are really geared at type 1 children who don't have the time. And they don't have the time to wait. We lost one this week, which is heartbreaking. It's one that's hit me really hard because we have treatments there. We have something that could have saved that child's life, and that hurts, and I think that's the thing for me. I realise that I've got the time to wait, and I think conversely, if you're an adult with SMA, you've got the time. If you're an adult with DMD, you don't. If you're a child, you could argue you probably do have some time to wait. And yeah, it's interesting when you're talking about the different priorities as you grow older. When you're younger, you want to keep a child on its feet. As you get older, you want to preserve what little function there is left. And, I see the parallels there, but I think at the end of the day, we're all kind of on the same boat. We all want to be able to access treatments as soon as we can safely.
Yeah, no, I think there definitely needs to be some understanding as to a treatment being open and available, and then that not just being age specific. And the irony of that, particularly in Duchenne muscular dystrophy, where it is overwhelmingly progressive, is that the people who, you could arguably say need it the most are then forbidden from being able to access it. I don't know.
There's all sorts of reasons given. I think John came across a meeting last week with some pharmaceutical sort of flippant remark that, we can't do a biopsy on a DMD adult because the muscle fibers just aren't there. But when you tried to dig deeper into that, you couldn't get any information to back that up. So, there's a lot of misunderstandings out there. And I think there's sort of reasons given why adults can't be involved, but then there's no information to back that up.
Yeah.
which I think is pretty poor, really. Yeah, but I think that's the thing. We've got adults who could help improve, and they're willing and they're more than happy to help improve the medical understanding and the scientific knowledge of how any drug is going to affect their condition at their stage of life. And I think what's stopping science right now is potential impact that has on their data for the younger kids. And I can understand that, but surely there should be a way of separating that data for the regulators to say, okay, this is how it affects this group of people, and this is how it affects that group of people with the same condition. And I think that's frustrating for me, because I know people like you and me are so willing to help that, and that's frustrating.
No, yeah, I'm willing to appreciate it. I mean, even so, if some people don't, I've always thought of myself being way beyond judgments, but certainly for the next generation coming up, I think it's more important because the potential's there for people to live as long as I have, and I think if we can improve on that, then I shouldn't become the exception. It should become the norm, if you like.
I think that's the same, in terms of me and my sister. I don't know if you know, I have a sister, Martina, who passed away in 1997, and she received, she didn't get a peg tube, she didn't get non-invasive ventilation, she didn't get the things to keep me alive, and I can even term it that way, the medical interventions, if you want to call them that you've received that maybe other DMD boys in the past haven't, and that should be getting it now without a fight. And I see that in the SMA community in type 1s, they're not given the same interventions here as what they have been given in the US for many years. I know a type 1 who's 20, that's 10 times the life expectancy of a child with type 1, and that's incredible, but it's purely because you got the right interventions at the right time, and I think we can learn a lot from that too, in terms of how we approach treatments. And treatments might not always be what the community call a cure, but also the medical interventions that we can put in place to get people time.
I know there's a lot of things around general health that we kind of need research into. There was we had a post from a guy last week in Canada saying that in later stages of DMD that we're going to see cases of renal failure, and nobody knows anything about that. And there was tests they were using for kidney function that involves creatine, which is something that's lacking in dystrophin. So the readings they were getting for people's kidneys were saying they were healthy, but they were flawed because they're using creatine as a measure for it, which
that's happened with me.
And it's kind of, and it's areas like that where we need to see research. A lot of these are avoidable things, or they can be treated if they're known about.
No, Michele, do you think this is something that will change as more treatments come through? Do you think it will then slowly expand? How do we accelerate that?
I think it will. I mean, I know some clinical geneticists here, not because they've treated me, but because I'm a genetics geek, and I love looking at stuff like this and how this changes the landscape, not just for us, but for everybody. And I think we're on the right track. I think the most important thing is that adults are willing to take the drug and, try and contribute to knowledge. Make sure people know you're willing, and make sure the pharmaceutical companies know that, because eventually they're going to have to adapt and learn how to put this into older people. Children grow up. They can give a drug to a child all they want, but that child is going to age, and how is it going to affect them in their older life? And I think that for me is another thing that we need to look at. People don't stay the same age, and how we help them as they grow older. I do think we're on the right track. I think even the usage of non-invasive ventilation much more widely for people with muscle wasting conditions and tracheostomies are becoming more and more prevalent too. I think people are realizing that quality of life is what you make of it, not what somebody else says it is. We've had stories in the news this week where there is still a fight going on with medical teams, and that there's different opinions and different sides of the spectrum. But I think the most important thing is that we continue having that conversation. Without the conversation, we won't get nowhere. And talk to the pharmaceutical companies, talk to the geneticists, let them know that you're willing to take a drug if you are, and you're not if you're not. And hopefully over time, we will all get more access to clinical trials onto drugs, and adults are here too, I suppose. But thanks to the kids who took the drug for us. We love you too. Thank you.
No, absolutely. Well, we'll keep pressing forward with this, trying to figure out new ways that we can help accelerate this. Certainly with you guys as well, Mark, at DMD Pathfinders. And I know you and John continue to do lots of things. And yeah, we'll continue to make sure it's getting out there, make sure the need is well, people continue to realize and understand the need. So yeah. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you all again soon.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye.